Hey, what's up, y'all? Parker destroys Trump supporter. Let's see how this goes. I've heard Parker debate a couple times, but let's see how it goes. No time to waste. Let's go. Let's go.
Trump is terrible for the economy.
Do you think Biden was good for the economy?
I think he was preferable comparative to Donald Trump.
Why is that?
Well, I think he's preferable specifically because
This is actually a really good way. This is actually an extremely good way to get the point across. Both of them got a tap when they're done talking. Like, that is a really good way, because like if Parker talks way too goddamn much. I like Parker, but he be talking way too goddamn much, and there don't be like enough time for people to get in. But, you know, I don't know who this other guy is. I like Parker though, don't get it twisted. I like Parker, but still he talks a little too much. But let's go back. First question again.
claim is Trump is terrible for the economy.
Oh, 100%.
Do you think Biden was good for the economy?
Absolutely.
I think he was preferable comparative to Donald Trump.
Why is that?
Well, I think he's preferable specifically because of his bipartisan infrastructure bill, his CHIPS and Science Act, the PACT Act, the Inflation Reduction Act. I think those are all beneficial specifically to people in need, and that obviously is going to create better off circumstances for our economy, more stable for working class people. And I think Donald Trump's policy is incredibly destructive. His tariff policy causes prices to go up, it causes the GDP to slow, and it causes a worse off labor market for people who are trying to get employed. And oftentimes the response is, oh, well, it's going to increase domestic manufacturing. Well, real domestic manufacturing investment has actually declined since Trump got in office. And not only under this term, but under his first term we saw a decline. And under Biden we saw massive growth because of the policies that I just mentioned. So if you specifically want to talk about the economy, I think that the best way to actually address this is by saying, what policies did they pass? What was the effect of those policies? And really, how does that impact the average American?
Wait a minute. I thought that whatever happens 3 years after Biden did pass the infrastructure bill, he definitely did. He did pass the CHIPS and Science Act. But I thought that whatever happened 3 years in the economy is what is in effect for what is now. But then again, the economy was crashing because of COVID around the time Biden came in. So I don't know if you could, yeah. Neither saying that COVID was either Biden or Trump's fault, but interesting. I mean, Parker made good points. Let's see what he has in response, this guy.
Well, I think the entire idea of this being called the Inflation Reduction Act was a misnomer from the beginning. It didn't actually reduce inflation, and what it actually did do is hire 80,000 IRS agents who disproportionately target middle class to lower income Americans with audits. They're not going after the top 1%. Why are they not going after the top 1%? Because those people can hire CPAs and fancy lawyers and all those things, but they are going after everyday Americans. And so I can't say that that was an economy that was working for everyday working class people, unfortunately, but that was part of the course for the Biden administration. He made it incredibly hard to be an everyday American in this city or in this country. Everything from grocery store costs. There were often times when there were things that were not even on the grocery store shelves under his presidency. Gas was, of course, out the wazoo. This president has actually worked to address that, to reverse it. We're seeing continually everyday goods like eggs and things of that nature, meat prices going down. I think 3% down year over year. Pretty incredible numbers there. We're looking at gas prices continue to go down. S&P 500 hitting record high this year under this president. So I think that this president is actually doing what he said he would do, which is bring down costs. He's making it more affordable to be an American. And again, the people elected him because they realized just how terrible Biden's economic policy was, and they realized that we could not endure 4 more years of that, or 4 more years of the teeny version of that from Kamala Harris.
So the Inflation Reduction Act was actually deficit reducing, meaning that it would put a slight downward pressure on inflation. So I agree, like the title of it was like a little bit misleading, and I think that they even acknowledged this themselves. Really, it was about investment in renewable energies and also like making it more affordable for people to be able to get access to insulin if they're on Medicare. For everyone on Medicare, not just for parts of Medicare like they existed under Trump. So I think that's a specific good policy. And then in terms of the audits, income tax is disproportionately progressive, right? So meaning that if you make more, you pay more into the system. Meaning that if they're going to go after greater levels of revenue, they're going to go after people who are rich. So I have yet to see any evidence that the audit specifically invoked by the Inflation Reduction Act specifically targeted working and middle class individuals to a greater extent. I'd love to address that if that's actually true. Now, I do know that tariffs actually do disproportionately negatively impact lower and middle income individuals because they spend a greater proportion of their income on consumer goods. So if you're spending a greater proportion of your income on consumer goods and there's an increase to the consumer goods cost, that's disproportionately going to be more for people who are lower income. so as a percentage of their income. So I think it's a regressive tax that harms working class Americans, and I think that that's not good for our economy. Now, in terms of the overall jobs, in terms of the inflation with eggs that you're bringing up, eggs specifically, that's because of bird flu, has nothing to do with Donald Trump's policies or anything like that. If you want to look at the overall economy, inflation has gone up since Trump got in office, gas prices have gone up since Trump got in office, the stock market growth has actually gone down as percentage terms since the end of Biden's administration. So although it's at all-time highs, it was at all-time highs under Biden, and it's technically growing at a slightly slower rate. It's not that much of a difference, so I'll give you that, but it's still a difference to note. And then alongside the fact that real GDP growth has slowed, real median wages have slowed in terms of their growth. So that's also a huge issue. It's actually estimated that's going to be around 1% real GDP growth for this next quarter that's upcoming, which slows. That's actually massive slowing of growth, because it was 3.8 for the prior quarter and it was negative 0.6 for the quarter even prior to that. So we have lower real GDP growth since Trump got in office, and we see that extended because of a lot of the different policies that he's engaging in. Now, it's not 100% determined by his policies, but it's heavily influenced by it, and it's definitely worse because of him comparative to what it would be if Democrats were in office.
Okay. I probably should have got more of the clip to see, because I can't say Parker destroyed him. I can't say Parker destroyed him because I don't know what he said next. But everything about politics, you guys know, is semantics, man. It is. And the Inflation Reduction Act was misleading, but at the same time, it definitely helped to bring down a little bit of prices. And like by the time Trump came back into office, the economy started looking like it was doing something good. But then when Trump started enacting tariffs, it sent the market into chaos. Here's the thing, though. When Republicans come into office, I'm not saying that their policies are any better than Democrats, but for some reason it does seem to boom the economy, because a lot of businesses think they're going to get tax cuts. So through them tax cuts, they think supply side economics is going to kick back in, and wages are going to go, not wages, but taxes are going to go down for businesses so they can expand. That's what they think. They're going to get less taxes. What is it? I forgot. Like the supply side economics is basically less taxes and less regulation. So they think they're going to get their businesses deregulated as well. So I do think there's a punch. I think there's a moment in the economy that starts booming with that. But then as time goes along, it starts becoming you start seeing what it does to the economy, and it really doesn't do anything good. Most of Reaganomics did nothing good to the economy. We all know that. Later on, it did. In the moment, it did, but later on down the line, it seemed pretty bad. But then again, I can't really say that. Like on the other side of the Democrats, Bill Clinton's North American Free Trade Agreement, it's a toss-up on whether or not that was actually effective, because it actually sent more companies overseas and reduced a lot of shit that was going on. But I don't know. That has nothing to do with what they were talking about. Parker destroyed him. I'll go yes, maybe no. Parker did have more information, it seemed like. But anyways, though, y'all, I'm out. Peace.